Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. It's been quite a long while since I last got out this pen, and this pen, and this pen, and all the rest of them, and this whiteboard, and talked about zombies. And so today, it's quite a special video for me because not only are we talking about zombies with the whiteboard, we're also talking about an element of zombies that's honestly one of my favorites every year, and it's the marketing campaign leading up to the next big zombies release. It's always just such a fun, exciting time, except sometimes there are things that I feel like could be improved or could be executed in a slightly different way to have a better effect on the community or set expectations better. And so that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. Now, I want to be very, very clear. This is not a conversation about features in Black Ops 7 Zombies, okay? This is a conversation about the way that Black Ops 7 as a product is being portrayed and marketed and explained to the zombies community by the people selling the product, Activision, right? And it's also going to be through this sort of unusual lens of the fact that the core of this problem only actually affects like 10 people, but the knock-on effect of the effect on those 10 people is an effect that then reaches thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people. So I think it's worth discussing. So I just want to sort of set the table with that. This is quite a niche conversation, but it's a conversation that directly affects me personally. And so I figured that I would make a video about it because that's what I do, right? I talk about all things zombies, especially when my interaction with the zombies mode is being affected in a way that feels suboptimal, let's say. So with that disclaimer out of the way that this is niche, and I'm not saying that this is gonna mean that the game sucks or something crazy like that. I'm just saying that this is a little narrow problem that I'd like a narrow solution for. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's talk through something that I personally don't like about Activision's approach to Zombies Week that is going to be happening through the week of September 15th through presumably 22nd or so. So the idea, if you're not caught up, is that there's going to be teasers and info releasing through that week. We don't actually know if it's going to be definitely daily or if it's just going to be that there's going to be a big info dump on Tuesday and then a big info dump on a Thursday or whatever. We don't know the exact specifics, but the Treyarch team have themselves said that they've just got too much info to do in like one blog post or something, and so they need a whole week to give us all that information, which is exciting, right? That, as a prospect, sounds really cool. And a similar thing happened last year because they did a Zombies month pretty much last year. They didn't really refer to it as that as such, as far as I recall, but it was a significant period of time where we were just getting info drop after info drop for a while, and it was really galvanizing for the zombies community to feel like we were being spoken to in that way. Treyarch over the years has struggled a bit to speak to the zombies community in a way that actually excites the zombies community rather than speaking to them as if they're all Warzone players. And so it was cool to see that last year, and I gave them praise for it last year and give them praise for it still to this day. I thought that was a quite cool month. But this year, we've got our Zombies Week, which at face value sounds neat. Now, the weird thing about all of this is that there is information already out there about Black Ops 7 Zombies, which isn't on the Black Ops 7 website. It isn't in an IGN article. It isn't in a GameSpot article. It's not in any of those sources. It's only located, weirdly, in my head. I know information about Black Ops 7 Zombies that you don't know. And I don't like that. To be completely clear, I am not a fan of this. So let me give you the context as to why this has happened. Spooky, secret, unreleased info entered my head in August. So at the start of August, I got invited to go to Treyarch and play Black Ops 7 early. And this was something that when I first received the invite for, I said, okay, hold on. How's this going to work with me being able to talk about this information, and when's it all going to be public and stuff? And the answer I got back was so sort of unusual, I actually nearly turned the event down. I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but let me explain to you before I get carried away with myself. Let me explain to you what that structure was, and then we can evaluate it, you and I together, piece by piece. So, the event was broken down into 3 main chunks. You had a presentation at the start of the sort of 2 hours that we were there. And the presentation was focused on campaign and multiplayer and zombies. And so we got a load of information about the overall ethos of Black Ops 7. And so we went from the presentation into a gameplay segment where we all went to their gameplay stations in the Treyarch studio and we played a little bit of Black Ops 7. We played some multiplayer, we played some more multiplayer, and we played a little bit of zombies. So that happened. And then we went from the playing the game section through to the third section, which was a Q&A. And in that, we were allowed to ask basically whatever questions we wanted about the stuff that we'd seen that day. And the idea was that maybe that would also help fill some of the gaps that had been missed in the presentation at the start of the day, which was about like an hour and 10 minutes long or something. So there was lots of info here, but there were obviously gaps. And so that was the goal of the Q&A, was to fill those in. So where do the problems start coming in, or where does the unusualness of the event structure come in, I should say? Well, let's play a little game. Let's play, am I allowed to talk about it or am I not allowed to talk about it? And we're going to go through these 3 sections of the day, right? The presentation. Am I allowed to talk about what I saw in the presentation, or is that secret unreleased info? Turns out the presentation is all fine, so that gets a tick. We are okay to talk about the presentation as presented to us. We were allowed to record the audio of the presentation, so I have extensive notes about what the presentation showed, and this is something that I've already covered in other content of mine, so you should be subscribed if you're not already, because then you would already know that information. Okay, now we're going to jump to the Q&A session. We're going to come back to this in a moment. The Q&A session, are we allowed to talk about that? The answer's yes, but with a weird caveat. So I've given it a tick, sorta. And then the zombies gameplay section in the middle here, like the fact that I've played the game and I want to tell you guys about it. Annoyingly, the only thing I am allowed to say about this section of the day is I played it. Nice. So straight away, this might seem a little confusing, because if a Q&A is based on stuff we'd just played and we're allowed to talk about the Q&A, what if the Q&A questions were about the things we played that we're not allowed to talk about? We're allowed to talk about the Q&A questions, so how does that work? Like, surely that just causes some contradictions in what is and isn't allowed, or what is and isn't under embargo. If you've not heard that term before, it basically means what you are and are not allowed to talk about until a given date. And this was raised at the time. I think maybe Modern Warzone asked the question. He was like, we're about to ask questions in this Q&A about stuff we've just played, so can we talk to our audience about the answers that you're giving us, like you've told us we can? And they were like, well, and they didn't really sound like they'd thought about this to a great extent on the day. It sounded like a sort of last minute answer, but they basically said, talk to your local reps, like talk to your local Activision contact for your region, the UK contact or the US contact or whoever, and they'll be able to give you individual answers based on whatever your query might be about the questions that you want to surface and bring to your audiences. So at face value, this seems kind of okay. Basically what they've said is, we want to be able to give you guys the presentation info, and we want the Q&A to be something that you can talk about for your audiences as well. But if there's stuff that you're not sure about, just talk to us, right? That seems completely reasonable. And I think it is completely reasonable, and it's especially reasonable, I would say, in the multiplayer and campaign departments. I think that those particular parts of the game are pretty sort of straightforward in the way that they interact between developer and fandom. And so I think that this sort of structure feels pretty logical, right? Ironically though, this is actually where problem 1 begins for the zombies community, okay? Again, it's a small thing, but they're gonna build and build and build here, and you're gonna see my sort of overall point. So it's the first problem to sort of need to go through your local rep in this way, because today it is Sunday, the 14th of September. Technically, the day before this new Zombies Week has sort of formally begun, and there is a new Zombies teaser as of today. And if that Zombies teaser related to something from the Q&A that I wasn't sure about, then I would be having to hit up my local Activision contact in the UK at, checking the time, literally 9:35 p.m. on a Sunday night. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with jobs. Sorry, maybe that was mean. God. Generally, most of the world doesn't work at 9:35 p.m. on a Sunday night, right? I'm obviously an exception. I work all the time, but generally, if you're working at Activision or something, the likelihood that you're around on a Sunday night at 9:35 p.m. is fairly low. And rightly so, right? You shouldn't be working at 9:35 p.m. on a Sunday night. But this just happens to be when the Zombies teaser has come out and I'm making content about it. And the Zombies information world is very, very much built on the foundation that when the news is out, everybody jumps in and talks about it that second, right? Like, it's just the nature of the beast. We are so frenzied in our consumption of the Zombies media that we're given, whether it's the games themselves or the marketing or what have you. Like, it's so quick that, like, over the years, I've had to constantly refine my process so that I can be as fast as possible getting my news videos out to you guys when there's a new patch that's got some crazy information in it, or when there's a new marketing teaser or what have you. Like, you've seen me probably hundreds of times over the years doing videos in airports in front of random people, reacting to trailers, doing them in random travel destinations that I happen to have ended up in. Like, all sorts of stuff has happened in places where it really shouldn't have done, but it's because that's when the Zombies news has dropped, and so I just have to cover it there and then, right? And so in this scenario, we're entering territory where I might have a burning, relevant question about what I am and I'm not allowed to say, but I have to wait to investigate whether it's okay until people are back in office on Monday. And generally, I'm not a huge fan of that just ever being a bottleneck for Zombies specifically. For other modes, I get it. Right? I get it. I've been in this industry a very long time. I understand how the games industry works. I understand how marketing works, right? Like, I'm no idiot. I just think that for Zombies specifically, making it so that a handful of the top Zombies creators, not the whole Zombies community by any means, but just a handful of those creators have this kind of weird reliance on hearing back from Activision about things, like, that's just a scenario I never want to be in. Like, it almost makes me feel like my editorial control is just a little bit more limited, because it almost suggests that I need to double check with Activision, even in scenarios where I'm, like, fairly confident I would normally be fine. I'm like, oh, well, it would be safe to double check with them, but then it's almost like the asking forgiveness versus asking permission thing, right? Where if you're constantly asking permission for things, it means that Big Daddy Activision has the opportunity to be like, oh, no to this, no to that, no to this, no to that. And, like, they are the one making the call, as opposed to me, the independent outlet, making the call on what is or isn't pertinent or relevant or worth talking about or publicizing or what have you. So this is like a teeny tiny, narrow, hypothetical thing that I'm just not hugely keen on, and that's problem number one. It's a tiny thing, okay? The next one is more where my major gripe with all of this lies. But I needed to mention this because it was a building block that gets us there, okay? So let's say in the new teaser today, there isn't anything that I need to specifically ask Activision about from the Q&A session. Like, let's say that that's just a non-issue. And let's just take this teaser actually at face value. What do we see in it? Well, it looks like it could be a buildables bench, right? Hypothetically, from Black Ops 2. Could be a buildables bench. Could be somewhere where you go to hotwire your car, right? Who knows? Maybe it's somewhere where you jumpstart the new Wonder Vehicle and then you drive off into the sunset. Maybe it's something else entirely. The problem for me is that I might know the answer to that, but I might just not be able to tell you, right? Because I've played Black Ops 7 Zombies. See, there's that line again. I've played it, but I'm not allowed to tell you if I've seen a buildables bench. I'm also not allowed to tell you if I've not seen any buildables benches. Like, maybe I was looking for buildables benches and couldn't find a single one and was surprised. Maybe I've seen a Wonder Vehicle spawn station, or maybe I haven't. Maybe I've seen parts for it, or maybe I haven't. But the issue that we're going to very quickly start running into, not just from this teaser, but also from all the rest of the teasers coming in Zombies Week is that there's going to be information which in classic Treyarch style is going to be like a little bit redacted and all that stuff. They love doing that stuff these days. But the problem is that I'm going to know the answer to this stuff, and I'm going to have to sit there and be like, well, zoinks, I guess it's a mystery. I don't know what that is. I've got no idea. I've never seen it before in my life. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, this is not a good position to be speculating from, because I can't speculate realistically because nobody knows what I do and don't know. So if I don't know something, right? Let's say hypothetically, purely hypothetically, please, let's say I knew that there was a Wonder Vehicle spawn station in a bus depot style area. Just hypothetically, okay? You don't know right now whether what I've just said is something I'm describing that I literally saw at the event, or if it's something that I completely conjured up out of my own imagination. You don't know that. And so if I get to Wednesday of Zombies Week and I see a little thing that looks like a sort of a bin that I'm like, oh, that looks like the bin that you'd kind of have in like a garage. Like maybe they're like throwing like old spare parts in there or something. Oh, what if there's like a Wonder Vehicle spawn station in the bus depot, right? If I say that and then on Friday it comes true, it's going to look like I was just sitting there on Wednesday about what I did or didn't know, just so I could look cool when the thing came true on Friday, right? It's going to make me look completely disingenuous if I guess that something is going to be in the game and then it's in the game a day later and I'm like, wow, what a surprise, a huge coincidence, right? The problem though is that that could genuinely, innocently happen. I could have no knowledge of any kind of bus depot Wonder Vehicle spawn station, and I could just speculate because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to participate in the uncertainty of these marketing campaigns, right? And I could make that guess, and then it could happen a day later. I could be correct, and I could have 1,000 people in my comment section being like,
wow, this guy is so fake. He really thought he could sweep this under the rug. He said it yesterday pretending he didn't know when he obviously does, and now it's come true, and he's just trying to like farm brownie points. This guy's an asshole, right?
do you see the position this puts me in? It's a complete lose-lose scenario. Like, nobody wins when my ability to speculate properly about the things that we should be speculating about has this awkward, but he's got privileged information, so maybe he's not telling us the whole story, and maybe he's just doing this to look smart or something. It's a poisoned apple. Like, the information that Treyarch gave us by letting us play zombies there is information I would rather not know, because it means that I can't engage in this in a way that is the proper way to engage with it. I just can't do it. And other creators are going to have this same problem as well. It's not just me. There's other zombies creators that were at the event, right? They're going to look at things and they're going to have to self kind of redact information that they know and try to find this weird, awkward line between saying, well, yes, this machine that I saw at the event, I have no idea what that is, but maybe it's, X, right? And then the next day, it's going to be X, and they're going to be like, oh, what a coincidence. Like, it's going to be so fake, or it's going to be genuine guesses that people will assume are fake because the internet's a cynical place these days, right? Like, it just only stands to make me and the other creators look bad. Like, it just completely gets in the way of us doing our jobs, which is ridiculous because this is the sort of thing which, when we're organically hyped for this sort of stuff, I'm confident it sells so many copies of these damn games when all the zombies community, all the content creators, all the people on Reddit, all the people on Twitter, all the people on, I don't know, CODs, if people still use it, all of them are all in the trenches wondering, oh my God, if we connect this dot to this dot, like, what if this is this weird thing over here? Whoa, like, bro, let me give you a perfect example. I remember the Shadows of Evil trailer, right? I broke it down frame by frame, and I discovered in one of the frames, I remember so clearly, it was like an over-the-shoulder shot of Jackie Vincent, and I think what it was is that there were actually 3 Jackie Vincents, and it was sort of an early showcase and teaser of Gobblegums and what Gobblegums were going to be able to do for you in Black Ops 3. But I noticed this from like one frame, and I was like, oh my god, guys, like I have to make a video right now. At the time, my channel was so much smaller. I had like 100k subs or something. So I made this video. It then, I think, like blew up on Reddit at the time. Reddit actually liked me back then. I don't know, maybe some people on Reddit like me still. Salute you guys, I appreciate you all. But like it blew up there, and so the community went from my YouTube community over to Reddit, and then that spawned a load of Twitter conversation because we were actually still on Twitter back then. Like it was crazy to think about. We've been on that site for a damn long time as well. But like it moved through all these different communities, and then other people were making videos on the same sort of like conjecture and conversation about where this feature could go and what else this could mean and like all this stuff. But it was a viral theory. Right? The zombies community is built on theories. This is anti-theory. Like by design. It is categorically anti-theory. What are we doing? This is why I keep saying it doesn't feel like multiplayer or campaign would have had this sort of problem. But in zombies, bro, it goes against our DNA for this sort of stuff. So that's sort of problem number 2, is this sort of speculation angle that need not be hindered in this way, and yet it is. Another thing, I'm just going to do a bonus here. A bonus, let's call this 2.5. Oh man, that's awkward writing. This doesn't look so great. But another thing that is so silly about this is that it's such a bad look for me to not be able to say what I thought of Black Ops 7 Zombies. Like, I've had so many people in comment sections on Twitter, in my live stream chat, etc. say, hey Milo, did you even like BO7 Zombies? Why are you not talking about like what your experience was? And in contrast, Battlefield worldwide reveal event as an example, right? Very open, very transparent, allowing me to share all of my thoughts. That's the sort of backdrop that Call of Duty is fighting against right now. And so that puts us in this very weird scenario where, do you think it makes Activision look confident if they are hiding my opinion from you? Let's say, hypothetically, I played Black Ops 7 Zombies and it was the best zombies I've ever played in my entire life. Do you think in that scenario, Activision would want you to know that was my opinion? Probably, right? So they probably wouldn't be stopping me from saying, I love the game so much, this is the best zombies we'll ever see in our entire lifetimes, right? They wouldn't stop me from doing that. But they are stopping me from telling you my opinion. So maybe, again, the internet's a cynical place, maybe that is being done to prevent me from saying, I played Black Ops 7 Zombies and I just thought it was mid. Or I played Black Ops 7 Zombies and it was so dreadful, it's time for another 10 whiteboard videos, right? Like, those are just hypothetical opinions. I'm, to be clear, not saying that that is my real opinion, but when I can't tell you my real opinion, it seems like big bad Activision hiding the secret negative info that it wants to sweep under the rug. Do you know what I mean? So again, if Activision was super confident in its product, this probably wouldn't be this way, right? Is what I imagine the cynic would say here. And the problem is, it's Activision, so all of us should be cynical about Activision's business practices, because Activision constantly does things that feel like they step out of line with what ends up being the pro-consumer option or something. So it's the right thing to do to be cynical. And so I don't think it's a good look that they're hiding my opinion from you. I should just be able to say my opinion on the game. And if the game is good, I would obviously say it's good. And if the game is bad, I'd say it's bad. But it kind of makes it a foregone conclusion that, well, his opinion must be bad if they're stopping him from saying it, right? Because otherwise they would take the good PR. So it's just like, this is an own goal. This is a complete own goal. Activision, if you're confident in the product, let me say that I liked it. And if you don't let me do that, it just makes it look like I didn't like it. So that's bonus point 2.5. Now there's another issue with all of this that's actually sort of a bit separate, but I think this next issue actually leads to more division in the zombies community in a time where we are all quite divided. Let's put it that way, right? We as a community have been through a lot over the years, and I think promoting community cohesion would be a cool idea for Activision to attempt to do, right? I think that would be cool. That would be a noble endeavor. And I think this next point that we're about to get to is actually something where they probably were trying to bring the community together in some way, except there's like a sort of cynical asterisk that we're going to get to, which is the opposite. But at face value, maybe they were trying to promote some community cohesion by doing the following. I have my transcript of the presentation and the Q&A session, and obviously my mental brain knowledge of what I played in the gameplay. And so do all the other Zombies YouTubers that were at the event, right? They all have their own conception of what happened. And so I have made videos saying things like, yeah, Treyarch didn't seem super confident that there were lots of new systems in the game to justify the purchase price, because I asked that question in the Q&A. But then you get other content creators giving their interpretation of the answer in the Q&A, or their interpretation of information that they received, and it's different. And what this leads to is this awkward scenario where you're almost pitting creators against each other. Like, I remember this happened actually for, I think it was the preview of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies at COD Next. Like, I wasn't there. I was not invited to COD Next that year. I was blacklisted at the time, so go figure. But I remember there were like 3 different Zombies people saying different things on a topic. And it meant that like one person had said something and people had gotten excited about it. And then another person had said, no, that's not the case. And so then the first person looked bad because it was like they were saying something that wasn't real. But then another person chimed in and they were like, oh no, there's like another piece of info over here. And it just leads to this scenario where like, it's almost everyone's bickering about what is right and what isn't, because the creator is the source of truth of information rather than Activision being the source of truth. And this is a trend that I've actually seen in other games as well in the last couple of years. Like Destiny is an example of it, where I was invited to an Edge of Fate capture event before the new Destiny expansion came out. And it meant that I was like a source of truth for part of the power grind information in Destiny 2's new update. And that information never got released by Bungie themselves. Like, it was just in my video only, and then slightly different versions of it were in other people's videos from the event. It just leads to confusion. It's not good to have that kind of creator-led marketing. Like, you need the source of truth to be out there as well. And so, like, if we're going to do an event like this where we get kind of like privileged information, right? Then the Zombies Week sort of needs to either happen beforehand or it needs to be the week of reveal of all this stuff in the first place. Because otherwise you get these scenarios where I say Treyarch didn't say there were lots of new systems and someone else says there are lots of new systems. And then it's like, okay, well, one of us is lying, right? And that makes us look bad as creators, and that maybe affects our interpersonal sort of working relationship with one another as well. If like it looks like I'm pooping on somebody else's statement, or like it's just weird. It's awkward. And it would be all solved if there was just an Activision source of truth, as there should be for these things. So that's why it's like, it looks like it's maybe a way to be cohesive, but it just leads to these weird split communications issues, and I just don't think it's good. I have the same gripe with their creator calls that they do. I do not think that this is positive for building strong community cohesion in the Zombies community, personally. That's my opinion on that. Now, the cynic, right, this asterisk that I put here, would say they're not doing this to promote community cohesion. What they're actually doing this for is so that when they do something that isn't in line with what they originally said, it's some random Zombies YouTuber that gets the flack instead of Activision getting the flack. And I think, personally, that there's a lot of validity to this. I think that this is not just an Activision thing. I think this happens with other studios as well. I think that it may or may not be true in Destiny on occasion. But you basically get these scenarios where the devs will sort of say to a creator, like, oh yeah, there's this cool thing coming. And that creator will be like, oh, a cool thing, whoa. And then the cool thing won't happen. And people will be like,
wow, that creator lied to me.
That's not the case. It's just that they were told something, but they have no record of what they were told. They can't, like, record the thing that they were told necessarily. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But like in this case, like they might not be given any kind of physical evidence that they were told that. And so then it's just like Activision's word against their word. And obviously the creator loses every time because Activision's word is just what is in the game, ultimately. So again, It's just not good. It's not good. And Activision is never going to be the one to take the blame in a scenario like that. They're always going to just be like, yeah, the random creator that said the thing that's wrong and is now getting heat, they can just get the heat. That's fine. That's not a big deal. And this isn't a hypothetical scenario either. I have seen this happen for the last 3 years in Zombies when they've been doing their creator calls and they've been doing events like this, and you get these split comms. It just means that creators end up getting weirdly more heat than they should be getting for just trying to promulgate the information that Activision themselves should be the ones releasing. So with all this said, for next year, there's improvements that we can talk about that are going to require a little bit more planning in terms of recognizing that if you give creators this early access in this way, but that access is too late for feedback to be implemented. So it's not a feedback session, but it's too early that they can talk about it. It just puts them in this weird limbo. I just don't think that that's the approach that they should be taking. Something's got to give somewhere. So next year, there's room for tweaking, but for right now, I would like to be able to just talk about what I played. Straight up, I've not been told by Activision if I will ever be able to talk about what I played. Or I've only been told I'm allowed to say I played it, right? I want to be able to talk about what I played. And I want to be able to do that so I can better inform my audience about whether Black Ops 7 Zombies is worth the purchase. And I also want to be able to do that so that I don't get into this awkward scenario, as I articulated in point number 2, especially where my participation in the marketing cycle for this game becomes weirdly tainted by the cursed knowledge I received when I played the game, and has a constant air of skepticism around it from the audience perspective of whether or not I am lying to their faces, right? There is a reason why, at the beginning of the video I mentioned, I nearly turned down this trip, which sounds crazy, right? To turn down playing Black Ops 7 Zombies early? The fact that I seriously considered that is surely a red flag that the event structure or something isn't really in the community's best interests, right? And I try to approach my editorial opining on Zombies from the audience's best interest because I want to be honest with you guys. I don't think this structure puts me in a position where my honesty is good for my career because it's going to make me look like a liar if I accidentally get something correct, etc. And it means that we have this weird Activision funnel that we have to go through, and it means that creators end up kind of weirdly pitted against each other in certain areas. It's just not good. It's just not good. So Activision, please let me give my honest opinion about what I played when I played Black Ops 7 Zombies early. Let me do that. Let me talk about what I saw. Let me just be straight up, because candidly, it's not like I was playing the game for 12 hours. I played a very narrow thing, and I can't even say what I played. That's so annoying. Like, people assume that I've played things I haven't played. People also are speculating that I've seen things I haven't seen. And, I can't participate in that conversation because all I'm allowed to say is, I played it. Let me talk about it, Activision. Please. That's all I gotta say.